It's somewhere between a bang and a pop. 3 or 4 of them in a short run, then nothing. Some people say it sounds more like gravel turning over inside the tank. And most people notice it for the first time at night, when the house has gone quiet and the heater is recovering from somebody's shower. If that's the sound you came here about, I can tell you now. That one is cheap. Very close to the cheapest thing your water heater does. The thing that costs $2,000 doesn't make a sound. It isn't in the basement. It came out of your kitchen tap this morning. You looked straight at it and you decided it was nothing. That's the pattern in most houses, and it's most of what I'll be doing here. The loud faults are usually the cheap ones. The ones that cost real money go about their business quietly. A water heater typically makes 3 noises. I'm going to take all 3 in order, cheapest first. What each one is, what it's doing to the unit, and what it costs. One of the 3 isn't even the water heater, and people pay to have it fixed anyway. The other 2 are the same fault at 2 different stages. Then 2 things that make no noise at all. The first gives you time, and it ends in a new tank and a bill around $2,000. The second means the steel has already opened up, and that one is a phone call today. And at the end, the digits on the side of your tank that matter more than every noise in this video put together. A quick word on what this channel is before we get into it. I'm Wade, and this is a channel about houses. Mostly about the gap between what a problem sounds like and what it actually costs. I'm starting with the water heater because it's the most misread appliance in the average house. Almost everything people believe about it is backwards. Alright, let's start with the loud one first. Noise 1. Popping, banging. Some people describe it as a kettle, some as small explosions. Same thing, all of it. Your water carries dissolved minerals, calcium, magnesium, whatever your local supply happens to be heavy in. Those minerals come out of solution when the water is heated, and they settle to the bottom of the tank, because that is what heavy things do. Over years, they don't stay loose. They bake into a crust. Now, think about where the heat comes from. On a gas unit, a burner underneath the tank floor. On an electric unit, a heating element sitting low in the tank. Either way, heat arrives from below, and that crust is sitting directly on top of the spot where the heat arrives. Water gets trapped underneath the layer. It superheats, it flashes into steam, and the steam has to go somewhere. It forces its way up through the sediment. That's your pop. Steam escaping through a crust of hardened mineral. Here's the part that costs you. That crust is insulation, sitting in the exact place you do not want insulation. The heat has to fight through it, so the unit runs longer to reach the same temperature. You pay for that on the gas bill or the electric bill every month, quietly. And all that extra running works the tank harder than it was built to be worked. Now, here's why it isn't what you think it is. Popping does not mean the tank is about to fail. There is no countdown attached to that sound. A heater can pop and bang away for years and go on doing its job the entire time. Anyone who tells you a popping heater is days from flooding your basement is selling you something. The fix is a flush. Drain the tank, move the sediment out, refill it. Routine work, and any plumber does it. One honest caveat, on units left alone a long time. The drain valve sometimes doesn't reseat properly once it's been opened for the first time in a decade. It weeps afterwards. That is not a reason to skip the flush. It's a reason to have it done by somebody who turns up with a replacement valve on the truck, rather than somebody who opens the valve, shrugs, and leaves you with a new drip. The next one is the same sediment and the same fix. What earns it its own section is what it tells you about the rest of the house. Noise 2. Rumbling. Deeper than the popping, more continuous, more like the tank muttering to itself than knocking. It's the identical process further down the road. Thicker sediment, more trapped pockets. So instead of one bubble letting go at a time, you get a great many at once, running together into a rumble. But rumbling tells you something popping doesn't. It tells you how long that unit has gone without anybody looking at it. And nobody flushes a water heater religiously and then ignores everything else in the building. Maintenance is a habit, or it's an absence of one. So if yours rumbles, the tank isn't really the thing to look at. Check 3 other things while you're down there. Pull the furnace filter and hold it up to a light. If it's gray and matted, the blower is working against itself. Look at the gutters, because a blocked gutter is a water problem long before it's a gutter problem. And check the dryer vent, because that's the one on the list that starts fires. Same fix on the tank. Flush it. The last of the three is the one people pay to have fixed by mistake, because it isn't coming from the water heater. Noise 3. Ticking, clicking, a metallic ping arriving in a slow, irregular series. That is not the water heater. That is the plumbing. Hot water moves through a copper or steel pipe. The pipe warms. Metal expands when it warms, thermal expansion, and the pipe has to go somewhere, so it shifts a fraction against whatever is holding it. A strap, a joist, the edge of a hole drilled through a plate. Metal slides against wood, and you hear a tick. The tell is the timing. It follows a hot water draw, somebody's shower, the dishwasher filling, and it tapers off over the next few minutes as everything cools and stops moving. Benign. Costs you nothing. If it irritates you, the fix is a bit of felt or foam where the pipe touches framing. And that's a Saturday job with no plumber in it. People do replace parts on a perfectly healthy tank chasing a tick that was coming from a joist across the room. That's the noises. Not one of them is going to cost you $2,000. The next one will. And before I explain it, I want you to stand up. Go to a fixture you use every day. Kitchen sink, bathroom sink, doesn't matter. Run the hot tap until it's properly hot, because it takes a minute to pull water that has been sitting in the tank. Fill a glass. Then, fill a second from the cold at that same fixture. Set them both down and turn the tap off. If the hot water is rust-colored, brown, orange, or cloudy, and the cold beside it runs clear, your water heater is corroding from the inside, not the pipes. If it were the pipes, the cold would be dirty too. Same pipes, same house. When only the hot side is discolored, it is coming from the one thing the hot side passes through that the cold side does not. Here's what's happening inside that tank. The tank is steel and hot water are not friends. So every one of these units is built with a component called a sacrificial anode rod. It's a long rod of magnesium or aluminum suspended down inside the tank, and its entire purpose is to corrode. Those metals are more chemically attractive to the corrosive elements in your water than steel is, so the corrosion goes after the rod and leaves the tank wall alone. It's a decoy, and like anything sacrificial, it gets consumed. Its working life is shorter than the life of the tank around it. Once the rod is used up, the corrosion doesn't politely stop. It moves on to the next thing available, and that is the wall of your tank. Rust in your hot water is that tank telling you the decoy is finished and the steel is now taking the damage. And here's the part people have trouble with. It is not reversible. You cannot flush rust out of steel. A flush moves loose sediment. It does not restore metal that has already been eaten. Once the inside of that tank is rusting, the only fix is a new tank. No noise, no warning light. It arrives through a tap you have used twice a day for years. And most people see the discolored water, decide the town must be flushing the mains, and never think about it again. That's the $2,000 sign. Go and look at those glasses, and keep listening, because there's a second silent one, and it's worse. This one isn't a warning, it's a result. Water at the base of the tank body, or a ring of rust around the bottom of the shell where it meets the floor. Be precise about where you're looking, because that distinction is a repair bill or a replacement bill. Water at a fitting up top. Water at the drain valve, water at the relief valve or the pipe running down off it. Those are separate matters. Fittings get tightened, valves get replaced, and the appliance carries on. One thing worth separating out. A relief valve that lets go once and settles down is one thing. A relief valve that discharges over and over is worth mentioning to the plumber, because the valve isn't the fault. It's the thing doing its job about a fault. Water coming out of the body of the tank is different. That is steel that is rusted through from the inside until it opened up. There is no patch for it. Whatever is still holding back the rest of that water is thin, and it is getting thinner. That one is a phone call today, not the weekend, not when it's convenient. Now, the thing I promised you at the start. It outranks every noise in this video. None of this runs on a schedule you can print out, but a standard tank water heater lasts 8 to 12 years. Past 12, you're on borrowed equipment. Quiet or not. So find out how old yours is. There's a label on the side with the serial number, and manufacturers usually encode the build date in there, quite often in the first 4 digits as a month and a year. Quite often. Not always. Every make does it its own way, so if your digits don't decode obviously, look up how yours writes it rather than guessing. And here's why that number beats the noises. A planned replacement and an emergency replacement are the same appliance. Same tank, same install, same afternoon of work. The prices are not remotely the same. One of them you schedule, get quotes for, and pay an ordinary price for. The other you negotiate standing in a wet basement with a man who knows perfectly well that you cannot say no. The noises tell you what's happening. That number tells you how much time you have to act on it cheaply. So, in order. Least worth your attention to most. Ticking is the plumbing expanding. Pad the pipe or live with it. Costs nothing. Popping is sediment, and it's on your energy bill every month. Get it flushed when it suits you. Rumbling is the same thing further along, and it's telling you the whole house is behind on maintenance. Rust in the hot water with clear cold water is the tank corroding internally, and that one ends in replacement. Start getting quotes while you still have the luxury of getting quotes. Water at the base of the tank body means the steel has already opened up. Nothing to monitor there and nothing to weigh up. Call a plumber today. The loud one is the cheap one. The expensive one is silent, and it's sitting in a glass of water on your kitchen counter. Go and look at that glass. Then, while you're standing there, find the label on the side of the tank and read the year off it. Put that number in the comments. It's worth seeing how they stack up, and if yours is past 12 and still running perfectly quietly, say so, because somebody always turns up with one. If this saved you a call you didn't need to make, hit the like button. That's what puts it in front of the next man lying awake listening to his basement. There's a lot of this in a house. The loud problems are usually the cheap ones. The quiet ones cost a fortune, and hardly anybody tells you which is which. That's what I'll be doing here, one appliance at a time. Subscribe and you'll get the next one.